This is the Racism Survival Kit. Of course, you'll know whether this applies to you or it doesn't. All men are equal in the eyes of God. Not all are valued equal in the eyes of men. Afra. You probably are wondering, what gives me the authority to write this, let alone share this on the video? I am an African woman, living out of Africa. Racism is my everyday experience. So why am I the best person to write this? Because I grew up in Africa. I have lived on both sides. I know what it is like to live in a tribe, to belong, and not to be judged by the color of my skin. I also know what it is to be looked upon as less than, as someone who's not worthy or even capable. I have lived in unity and love, and I have lived in division and hate. And I have drawn the wisdom of both sides. It's taken me 15 years to write this. And if it's somebody who'll benefit, then my work is done. Because once I was that girl who was looking for this wisdom, and I could not even find it on Google. So why do I walk with my back straight, my head held high like my ancestors did? It's because I have learned and I have healed. And now I help others do the same. Call it my electrical engineering degree mind, or my soul coaching expertise that I have studied, or the Sangoma in me, the medicine woman. A gift I inherited from a lineage of strong, powerful women who are chiefs, or reclaiming my divine self-worth as a child of God. Whatever it is, I felt compelled to write this. For somebody asking for a sign, voila, your prayers have been answered, just not the way you expected. I write this for anyone who has ever experienced racism, and for the allies who are working endlessly behind the scenes. Your efforts are valued and appreciated, and we know you're doing your part. So thank you. To do your bit and to make the world a better place for those who are excluded from the human family for the color of the skin they were born in. Before I go any further, I will tell you what this is not. It is not hating white people or other people who may have a problem with people who look different from them or people from another race. You know, or those people who moved seats on the train or bus so that you don't sit next to them because they didn't want to be next to your melanin-coated skin. Or those who are hostile towards you when you went to order a meal at a cafe. And that neighbor who ran up the driveway and slammed the door only to peep through the window in fear when you moved in. It is to start focusing our energy inward as Black people so that we can heal, to self-heal, and to nurture and give our energy to a mission that's bigger than ourselves so that our children can live in a better world. To be honest, as far as I'm concerned, I've come to realize that racism is a ploy. It's a distraction to make sure you're constantly fighting and you never focus on what's really important, that life is a gift and you have a purpose to fulfill. Let's be honest. You can fight an entire lifetime and still get nowhere. I will loosely use the word black, and I say black in quotes because melanin coated people have over-identified with it. This I will explain further ahead. Bear with me, this is quite a long recording. But for you to understand the magnificence in its entirety, stay with me if it resonates. So we'll use the term loosely black because even melanin coated people are really identified with it. Or if I called you something else, you may not even realize I was addressing you. I will also explain why I don't refer to myself as black. Don't get me wrong, I am melanin coated, duh. I just don't feel black incorporates the magnificence of my divine spark, the God in me. That bright light that shines through every pore of my skin to remind me that I am a soul in a human body. A truth all our ancestors knew, that you're not just your skin color. You are the spark of God within. And I can swear to you, there is nobody in the entire African continent who ever referred to themselves as black. There is no concept in any African language for black. Yet it's the continent filled with African people. None of my ancestors called themselves black. And it's something for you to think about. So please note, in this day and age, it is embarrassing that somebody, including myself, has to teach anyone how to survive and to live in a world that's constantly bombarding you with negativity for the color of skin you were born in. Yet freedom is everyone's divine birthright. But that is the consciousness on the planet at the moment, unless you change it for your children. We'll start with mindset. Your mindset is key. How you see yourself and how you define yourself. You're not reading this because the world thinks very highly of you. Let's be honest. If you see yourself through the lenses the world sees you, you are extinct. That's it, extinct. For me as an African woman, I am torn to choose between Mama Njeri, who sells mangoes by the side of the road for less than $1 a day, or the angry Black woman. I am neither. The other one I have had projected at me is the seductive, exotic temptress, whose sole purpose is to lead white men astray. God didn't have a better purpose for creating you. Duh, definitely. Feed children in Africa? Who gave you that random idea? Has to do something with that jungle fever that Black women carry. You know, that God-given magic of the mother, the nurturer. There's a reason why Black women were the only women who were used to raise even white babies. That magic of the divine mother. Anyway, What do I say? Truth is, if I saw myself through any of those lenses, I'd probably hate myself. So this is what you can do. This is what I've learned I'd like to share with you. Adopt a Hakuna Matata mindset. It means no worries, literally. It's a Kenyan concept. It's not a Lion King concept. Well, they got that from Kenya. Oh, we've got no problem. I like when Simba said Hakuna Matata. What I'm trying to say, people in Kenya were saying Hakuna Matata before the Lion King. It's only when they went to do a shooting, looking at the wildlife, they liked the idea. And we lent it to them. People will think that they want to think, people will think whatever they want to think to make themselves feel better. You need to let it slide like water off a duck's back. When you're at work or you just got into a train and you have that experience, Hakuna Matata. When you allow others to define you or you take their projections off you onto yourself, that's when your ship is ready, has started to sink. Learn to see yourself through your own lenses and stop borrowing other people's broken lenses on how you should see yourself. Let them sit in their projections. Hakuna Matata, with the knowing that there are thoughts that make people sick. Let them misperceive you. Let them misjudge you. It's got nothing to do with you. Remember, we don't see others as they are. We see others as we are. Other thing you could do is exude joy and keep smiling. One day I had been invited to perform an African dance for Harmony Day. Mind you, I had driven like 2 hours across the daylight saving time zone. I was not even being paid. It was unpaid. I was a volunteer. Anyway, when I arrived, you would think the audience will have been more bit open-minded. I mean, the flyer clearly stated, African dance, Kigeni from Kenya. Now, I get on stage and people are looking at me as if they are seeing a North Pole polar bear. For those of you who've done any stage work, you know how difficult it is when the audience does not give you any energy. I look at the audience. No one looks like me. I have two choices: run away or give the best performance of your life. I decided the latter. I danced as if God was watching. I felt the trees join in. I believed the air molecules joined in. I had so much energy, I swear I levitated off the ground at some point. In the end, I ended on a high. The crowd warmed up and I got my standing ovation. I walked off stage with 100,000 ancestors behind me. Exude joy and keep smiling. The other thing is, you are not Black. Just hear me out. Words take on the meanings we attach to them. A word in itself is an empty vessel. This is one of a few debates I have with people over. But allow me to share my perspective. If you're considered Black, it's a way people normally describe those who are melanin coated, which really means that your ancestors came from Africa willingly or unwillingly. The African DNA is so strong, it will show up 4 generations later, even though everyone else in the family tree belongs to another race. It just cannot hide. It's that Eve gene that cannot be eradicated from the tree of life. I grew up in Africa and I noticed an entire continent full of Black people. Well, South Africa and places like Morocco, Egypt, well, there's history how those people got onto the continent. But we do not call ourselves Black. I share a story that my grandfather went to his grave never knowing he was a Black man. He considered himself Meru, which is his tribe. And Meru could come with its own meaning, could be, we like farming. We like to keep sheep and cattle and goats. And we love to eat bananas. You see, Black is a color other people can make you feel. There is no African concept of color. You don't believe me? Next time you go to the rural, try explain to somebody they are Black and you will not find a word to directly translate. I dare you. You see this in the purity of our relatives who never left the continent. They have no idea or the concept of racism. Because racism is something that's introduced in your consciousness, usually by a foreigner who lives outside of you, of your family, of Africa. Racism is the price of those who have left the motherland pay for every single day. Isn't it funny how you can't even quantify it? Well, South Africa doesn't count in this equation for obvious reasons. What I'm trying to say, go to my grandmother's village and try telling people that they are Black. First of all, you will not have a concept to directly translate, as I said. So now what I want to ask you is, what do you mean when you call yourself Black? I tell even my white friends, I posted this on Facebook, I said, if you have to call me Black with the understanding that I too possess the light of God within and I am counted as a child of God. Don't call me Black to rob me of my divinity. Do not call me Black to make me sound synonymous with darkness. If that's the case, call me African, because at least African means brotherhood. When others call you Black, what do they mean? You see, the ancients knew that words carry the meaning we give them. So tell me, the word that carries Black, tell me one word. Okay, maybe not one, but feel the energy and the consciousness around the word Black. Does it have a positive connotation? Okay, let me ask you. Black sheep, blackmail, blacklist, blackout, black market. Wait, black spot. So, and you're Black. When you meet people, people ask you, what's your name? You give them your name. You'd already called yourself that. They buying into your name. The Black race is the only race that took a word that was given to them by another race. Now think about that. And our ancestors never called themselves Black because they knew they were the soul within. Others can be Asian, Chinese, European, but you're Black. Black. And there are very few things that are Black, that bring a positive vibration and energy, even in the person saying them. Feel the energy, frequency, and vibration of Black before you take it on and wear it with pride. Or at least if you call yourself Black, choose the meaning you give it. Do not take the meaning that diminishes you, puts you down, robs you of your light. Or when people look at you as Black, they already separated their hearts from you because they cannot see you as a brother. And remember, Black is not an African word. You are African, and that comes from the word Afra, which means brotherhood. Ha, how are you going? Maybe actually it's going to be long. But until you understand this in its entirety, that is what will awaken the memory within you to remember who you truly are in your magnificence. Reconnecting with your ancestry. Encourage your children to go back to Africa. These are just suggestions for you to take or leave, but at least you'll say somebody told you. Once upon a time, this knowledge was not so freely available. Actually, it's the wisdom that was not so freely available. Doesn't it surprise you as much as even we love white people and they've invented so many things? This is one thing they cannot tell us what to do or how to do it. If it was a solution they had, white people will have had a solution to racism by now. That's why you're on your own on this boat. Well, you've got me, but that's your choice. Anyway, encourage your children to go back to Africa. I used to wonder why most of my white friends go to Europe from Australia on their holidays. Then I got it. That is their ancestral land. Well, they do not call it that, but something pulls them back. When I meet Africans born overseas or African Americans, or Black Americans, as some of them prefer to call themselves, great, that's completely up to you. I'm only sharing my perspective as an African who's Black, living out of the continent. And they do not seem to think Africa is their ancestral land. Africans born overseas are African Americans. I believe everyone ought to live at least one day in their life where they are not the color of their skin. White people live lifetimes. You owe it to give yourself or your children at least one day, just one. In a lifetime, that's not too much to ask for. For melanin-coated people born overseas, most have never had this. I have the luxury to know when my soul needs a top-up, it cost me $3,000 to book a flight back home. Well, now there's COVID, but I just know when I need a top-up. I know when I need to go back and drink from the same water hole my ancestors drank from, because that water will top me up and give me the strength. I can recharge my soul. And I can walk in the streets without feeling I need an energetic shield, or I need to say, God, please protect me from the demons that roam in people's heads. because I can put that energy to things that really matter. And so can you. It may surprise you that Africa is not as bad as you see it on TV. I do acknowledge there are parts with no running water or electricity, but that's it. Africa is rich in Ubuntu. True, pure, human values, human connection. People living in mutual respect, trust, understanding. Do you know African people never needed police? We didn't even need a system that will be considered to protect us. We watched over each other. That is Ubuntu. That I know I can go anywhere and somebody will still offer me a cup of tea or some water, even give me a place to sleep. Not because I'm related to them, because I'm a human first. Where else do you find that? If you're Black, you need to go to Africa just to feel human. You deserve to belong. You deserve to feel what human compassion is. You need to feel what it feels like to know people wish you well. People want you to succeed. Not this hypocrisy of I see of people sponsoring children in Africa, but when you're there in their face, they don't want you to succeed. I know it's human nature. But what I'm talking about is human connection. Not because you have a university degree or money in the bank, because you're human first. You need to touch the motherland with your naked feet. Let her sing to you the memories of your origin. I love landing in Nairobi and all my problems just disappear into thin air the moment my feet hit the ground. Because I receive a hug from the mother, from the motherland, saying, "Welcome home, child. Good to see you. How was your journey?" Let her sing to you the memories of your origin, the truths you have forgotten about yourself, from the lies you absorbed from a world that did not understand you. Black people are powerful. Black. And that comes from who you are. That power that you carry within your heart, within your soul. That was God given. And when you're there, let her remind you of who you are. Let her tell you the name she remembers you by that you don't even know. Let her sing you to the mountains, the rivers. Go see the mighty lion, the giraffe, the rhino, ooh, the mighty elephant. He never forgot you. You forgot him. Go roaming in the savannah and touch the baobab tree that has been there for the last 600 years. Let it tell you many stories. Stories that my grandmother would tell me growing up. Stories of our origins. Stories when women were warriors, dancing warriors. Stories when women were chiefs. Let them tell you stories of your beginnings. Slavery was not of God. That is not your history. That is their history, not yours. Go back to a time when men were warriors. Go back. It's in your DNA. It will unlock, and you remember who you are. Go back. The dog agrees. Go back to a time when the beat of the drum took all your pain and sorrows away. Go back to the time the African man loved to dance. And come and feel the ancients in the wind. Feel the waters. Feel the mountains. If you can find where your tribe comes from, go back to the ancestral lands. Find the water your ancestors drank, where your great, 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 great grandparents drank from. And in there, they left a message for you. Go back to your true origins, about your ancestors, and remember who you are. And when you leave, you come back to a world armed, fully armed in your armor and the sword of truth and the shield of knowledge, knowing who you are. Coming back to live in your purpose as a co-creator with God. Learn about your true origins. The earliest human remains are in Africa. Your people were on the planet before the Bible was written. A lot of your history was passed down through song and dance. My African American friends were taught that Africa had no history and that they were saved from savagery. Does that make any sense? From the birthplace of humanity? That is not the story my grandmother told me. We have a history that is almost as old as the earth itself. Our stories began at a time that was known as the time before time began. Just think about that. Time before time began. To even consider that Africa has no history is madness. Where do you think you come from? You fell from the sky? Oh, or are you part of a lineage that goes back to your ancestors? And you think your ancestors knew nothing? that you deserve everything that's coming your way if you think your ancestors knew nothing. Then no wonder you do not know who you are. What scares most people about the Black race is the ability to reconnect with our ancestors. Connecting with the ancestors gives you access to thousands and thousands of years of wisdom that is stored in the Akashic internet somewhere, but you can access it through yourself. I have. Start searching. It is really sad that you as an African, you know more about Christopher Columbus than you and know nothing about John the Conqueror, who was an African prince turned slave. You think Africans were enslaved because they were an inferior race? Think again. If you wanted a slave, wouldn't you pick the most hardworking? That you know more about the Stonehenge than you know about the Adams calendar. The Adams calendar is in South Africa. It's where a lot of Sangomas were initiated. It was known as the place, the place, the earth and the sky made love and birthed humanity. It is our own version of African Stonehenge. It's in South Africa. Google it, Adam's calendar. Even scientists cannot explain what goes on there. And from there, there's a straight line that goes to the pyramids of Egypt. Now, I say to people, we can argue all we want about the pyramids of Egypt. At the end of the day, they power the African continent. Isn't it funny how you tell your children stories of Snow White and not stories of Queen Nzinga, who fought for her people? She led an army, devastated the Portuguese. And she's not the only queen. But anyway, you'd already been told you came from nothing. Why do you have to research if you came from nothing? Or is it you actually came from something? And if you're to find out what that something is, it will change everything. The world will be turned upside down. What are we teaching our children? I have to warn you, the deeper you go, it will change everything you thought you knew about the creation story. There is a reason that what the ancestors knew was never recorded in books. Think about it. Everything has been stolen out of Africa. People, minerals, resources, land. Don't you think if the ancestors knew there's something that was more valuable than gold itself, they had to put it somewhere where it could not be stolen? Think about it. Don't take my word for it, please. But it's all recorded within your DNA. You were made from your parents, who were made from the parents before them. Before them, you go back all the way. What they knew was handed down to you. Look within. I did. And I found my magnificence. And I would want that for you. Music, food, and dressing. Let me start by saying, this is not to say that you should not dress in westernized clothes. Not at all. I love fashion, any fashion really, Japanese fashion, wherever it comes from. But you can throw some beads on it, some, some African beads on top. Like I wear a suit all the time and my Maasai beads. Just be authentic. I'll share with you a funny secret, and this I understood just out of experience. I've never had anyone be racist towards me when I'm adorned in my African beads. And it was such an interesting phenomenon. I actually had to stop and think, and I was like, when you own yourself, when you show you're okay being who you are, people just leave you alone to continue with whatever you need to do and your purpose. Your beads carry the prayers of your ancestors with you. Here I've got my African warrior beads. Sometimes I have them on top of my head, but it's up to you. Yeah, you have to find what works for you. Here I'm just helping you how to reconnect with your own essence every single day. Because after a long day at work, you can play some music that reminds you of home. While you're cooking, cook some ugali, cook something from your culture. At home, goat meat is hard to find, but so is beef and lamb. Just saying, just find something that brings you back. Because when you had a whole day at work, at school, uni, wherever, you being cut out from the human family on an energetic level, you need to come home into yourself. In the music with the drums, in the colors of your ancestors, you need to belong in your soul. And having that sweet spot to come to at the end of the day after another day of racism becomes like the balm of Gilead to your own soul. And you find strength to go on for another day. Express yourself through your hair, through your clothes, through your music. African music is diverse as its people. Each place has its own rhythm, its own beat. The power of the African drum is it connects us with something that's so primal with each one of us. I can't tell you how many times I'd have a bad day and I come home and I just play that music that brings me back to myself with the drums, and I dance myself off, that I literally feel all that negative energy shake off me. And I'm having such a good time and I'm reconnected to my joy. And you can do that too. You can create your own list right now. You can go on YouTube, you can go on iTunes, you can go to Spotify, whatever works for you. Just find African music. You don't have to be African to listen to African music. Goodness, music is universal. But there's music right now from Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, Tanzania. And I have music for when it's calm, but music when I just need my doof. Sunday, I like my gospel music. The people singing in different language, but I know they're praising God, and I love that. It just feels the spirit and lifts it up. You actually feel like the Holy Spirit is descending in the room. That's what I'm talking about. I don't need to be teaching you these things. I'm just reminding you if it resonates. But this will lift you up every time. Or even listen to it when you're driving from work, when you're coming home from work on the train. It will really, really help you. It occurred to me that Black men are killed by police when they're wearing things like dark hoods. Trust me, no one will have the courage to shoot you when you look like this. What I mean, when you're sane, when you're invisible, anything can happen to you. But when you're sane and you're proud of yourself, sometimes you're the only person people remember who walked into a room. And at least, even though something happened to me when I look like this, I owe it to myself to walk to the grave with my head held high, with dignity. So this is your homework for you. Go on Pinterest, Google, just look for something that gives you your true identity and your magnificence. And for those of you who work in the corporate world, I know you have to be professional. Yes, I still wear my black professional dress, and I'll still throw that on top. You have to bring your energy and your essence through. Let me ask you, Black man, huh? Were you ever accepted when you finally dressed like a white man? Yes? No? So why don't you dress the way you want to dress? Black woman, were you ever accepted? Did life become any easier for you when you tried to fit in so much to look like a white woman? Or any other woman for that matter? Reducing yourself to fit in has never worked for anybody. Don't expect it to work for you. To be honest, now I have more white people who come to ask me about how I dress than even black people because they love it. They just had never been exposed to that before. It doesn't have to be overbearing and overpowering. It just can be something small. That's it. It's worked for me. I know it will work for you. I used to work as an electrical engineer, by the way. So if you think I don't know about the corporate world, you may be mistaken. And now I work as a speaker. However, when I walk on that stage, they will know I am African. Own who you are. And actually, something interesting happened to me the other day. I'd walked to a coffee shop and the lady serving me saw me wearing all my beads. And she said, "Oh my God, you look so beautiful and you look colorful." She said, "Are you dining in or are you taking away?" I said, "I'm dining in." She's like, "Oh my God, thank you. You will make my shop look good." I was like, "Aye?" Like she really, I think she will have even asked me to stay in if I want to take away. But it was one of those things. Like, to her, she felt I was contributing to her shop just by looking like myself. Huh? There you go. Can dress up like an African queen and you walk with your head tall. And you know what happens? People will meet you at that vibration. So look on the internet and you'll find many options. And then next time you go to Africa, go find a tailor who'll make you something nice. They'll make you those kentes, kitenges, and start owning who you are. And even in the workplace, you'll always have Christmas parties, dress up parties. You have opportunities to show the world your magnificence. Black people, your light has been dimmed for too long. It's the high time you start showing it to the world. How are you going? I think you're allowed to put on pause, go on a toilet break, and then we continue. To be honest, I think the way this thing is all structured, it took me a long time to put it together. As I said, 15 years experience. But this is a workshop, and you actually learn how to do this yourself. Still, you feel your confidence is up, and nothing is standing in your way, because nothing is standing in your way. So managing your energy. Now, this took me the longest time to learn. I hope it won't take you that long too. I don't know if you've heard of the process of shielding your energy. Do you watch Star Wars? Like, Have you ever seen like when they're being attacked by another ship and they say, put the shields up, put the shields up? Yeah, it's pretty much the same thing. But I learned this the hard way. Like, have you ever walked into a shopping mall and you come back home and you feel as if you were hit by a cosmic truck? Well, what happened is that you unwittingly absorbed other people's energies, whatever they were thinking of you, because we are energy beings. We are consciousness. We've got a vibration. That's why you pick up on people's vibes, or else you wouldn't, right? So I did a lot of research on this phenomenon, and an energetic shield works the same way a warrior's shield works during a fight. It's just meant to keep that impact out from your field. And I told you, I'm an electrical engineer. I've been told I don't look like one, but hey, the work speaks for itself. Brains don't have to be out of the body, they can be inside the body too. But where there's energy, you just count me in. So I came across the theory that we are actually vibrational beings. Like, have you ever picked up on somebody's vibe? And whether you know it or not, you just know you can trust them or you cannot trust them. So our energy does not lie. Energy does not lie. That's why if Black people are saying they're feeling things from other people, it's not because we are making it up, it's because it's the energy we've been picking up for all these centuries. And to be honest, we're exhausted now. Why can't people just change their energies to positive energy? I mean, I think it's still possible. But anyway, you can't control others, you can only control yourself. There's an institute known as Heart Math, and they've done a lot of experiments about this. Because our energies broadcast to the cosmos what is really inside one's heart, what people are truly feeling within themselves. So, what actually happens when you walked into that shop, into that cafe, into the bus, or even your workplace? Your field picked up what other people within your radius thought about you or felt about you. For you as a Black man, not as much for Black women, but to different degrees, you may have walked into a room and the first feeling you felt is fear projected on you. So imagine living in that. It's not your fear. You've just met this person for the first time, but they've just dumped it on you. I know in Swahili we have a phrase called kupaka rangi. Kupaka rangi means somebody has just literally walked over you and smeared you with a paint. So like maybe they painted you yellow. And the thing is, yellow is a bright color. So maybe they painted you gray with mud on it. Maybe they're, lack of a better word, they're shit on it. Yeah, kupaka rangi. So you keep walking, but everyone who sees you is picking that projection of you. That's why sometimes you didn't have to do anything for somebody to give you that look. You know, that look like, oosh, oosh. And then you're going like, what did I do wrong? Because you had been smeared with it. The last shop you came from, when you're just walking down your driveway, when you walked out of the bus, the way the bus driver spoke to you, they all pack. Then they all add different, yeah? I say at the end of the day, you'll have had so many people put their colors on you, you won't even know who you are. So that's why it's so important for you to be able to know who you are. This is my energy. This is not my energy. And this is who I am in my magnificence. That's the only thing that will save you. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, please remember that this is unconscious. What I'm saying is it has happened to me. That is like why I know this has happened to you too, is because it's happened to me. And most racist people do not even know they're racist. Racism is it's a filter. God, I have so much to teach you. Racism is a filter. What I mean is a filter. Okay, like for example, right now I'm looking at you. Maybe you're seeing me. I don't know. But if there's something here blocking it, then that's as far as you're gonna see. Or if it's like that, something is passing through. So in our minds, in our consciousness, somebody may have been conditioned. Do you know some children are born racist? Not like they're told they'll be, but they're born in a state of fear. Because 3 generations, all the ancestors have lived in fear. So by the time they're seeing you, that child sneers at you. I don't know. I'm like, God, is that? Well, one time I saw one, I'm like, is this a devil baby? Like, how can just something that's so pure and innocent and loving can just look at you and go like this? And you just don't see those things. But what I'm trying to say is sometimes it can be so conditioned, but that's in an extreme case. But for most people, it's a filter. What do I mean? Just because somebody's married to a Black person does not mean they don't have a racist filter. Is that making sense? Just because you've got a white friend does not mean you don't have a racist filter. What I'm trying to get at is, how do you know you've got a filter? Because you'll be tested by the universe. Allow me to share with you a beautiful story. I have a late uncle who lived in Perth, Western Australia, for like 20 years. One time he's coming to pick me from uni. I was so new to the country that he had to pick me from uni till I understood this is the train, this is the bus. It was a hand-holding thing. Just needed. So my uncle was a beautiful soul, and he's a beautiful, beautiful Black man. He's my uncle. I know him. So he comes in late. He's all drenched. He's got water on him. His hands are full of mud. I'm like, what happened? I had waited like a couple of hours thinking, okay, how am I gonna get home? Where do I live? I don't know. I think less than 2 weeks in the country. So anyway, so he starts telling me this story. He's like, when he was driving to come to uni to pick me up, there was a white woman who was trying to stop a car to have somebody help her change the tire. But now what happened is, like, she'd been standing there for an hour. She had a 6-month-old baby crying in the car. It's going wing, 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 wing. She doesn't know. She's getting hectic. She's really getting overwhelmed. She's getting anxious. So my uncle stopped his car and stepped out, and here comes a Black man. And the first thing she did was to step back. And he goes like, excuse me, ma'am, can I help you? And at first, even she wasn't sure if she needed help. But then she realized she'd been waiting for the last 1 hour and nobody had stopped. She's like, I just need, and the baby's screaming with the rain. And it's like, And at that moment, she was being tested. All right? Anyway, my uncle, being the gentleman he is, he helps her. And she's all ready to go. So when my uncle is walking away, she apologizes how she'd seen him. Now listen to that. She'd apologized. And to the point she was like, please take some money. My uncle is like, not necessary. It's humanity. We're just helping somebody. Yeah. But that was her moment to realize she had a filter, because a Black man had stopped. But yet no one else, even from her own race, had stopped to help her for the last 1 hour. You need to start seeing people like, it depends where the filter is. Someone may be happy to employ you. They just not be happy if you are dating their daughter. They don't want Black in the family. That's where their filter ends. How many people are like, I agree, Black people need to be peaceful, have equal rights, vote. Yeah, just do not marry a Black person. That's their filter. We want Black people to be successful, we'll give them jobs, but we'll pay them less. I can give you so many examples. But you need to understand this filter. And when you meet people, assess where their filter is. For the person who's 100%, confessed racist, that's the person who will not even want to walk on the same street with you. So those ones you find out are racist after you're dead. It's not the best way to find out, but there are very few. The majority who you encounter on a day-to-day basis, they don't do it consciously. And the good thing is I've met a lot of people who are going like, how can I identify my own unconscious bias? Just one last example. I used to be in a group, we were learning all business, all these things. And as far as I'm concerned, they really took me in as part of the tribe. I felt a sense of belonging, we're all doing the same thing. We're all learning about business. My dear brother, my sister, did I know if I succeeded more than these people, I cannot be part of the group? Allah. Now, how will I have known that? So it's like you've got people from being very nice and loving towards you as a black person, because you're the only black person in the whole room. And overnight, you've been ostracized from the clan. Now that's where their filter was. I love black people, just don't succeed more than I. Hope that helps you in living in this world. Find where their filter is. How will you know where the filter is? There'll be an opportunity and they'll be tested. You'll be tested too. The other thing you need to know is that all these negative thoughts people have is what has caused all the pollution in the planet. Let alone what we've done with oils. No. The negative thoughts we have about each other is what has made even this planet conducive for COVID. We'd already prepared the land for COVID. COVID just planted and it succeeded. That's how much negativity that was underneath on an unconscious, subconscious level. So to see you as separate, you need to understand these people need to look down on you. They need to see you as inferior. And if you pick this in your radio antenna and you take it into yourself, you're doomed. No wonder you're feeling depressed. And this alone causes more harm on peoples of color souls than the shooting of black people. That is seen with the eyes. But when it comes to racism, when you learn that racism is an energetic war, then your only responsibility is to manage your energy. You need to protect yourself from the negativity of others or ask God to protect you. When it comes to racism, there are no positive vibes coming your way. I remember my physics teacher one day saying, it's called the Brownian motion. I don't know if you've ever done that science experiment. But what usually happens, you put these pollen grains in water and they start moving in all this random direction. And I remember in physics, they used to say, what's the explanation to the behavior of the pollen? And I've never forgotten this explanation, which is the pollens are being constantly bombarded from different direction by invisible water molecules, causing them to have unbalanced forces within them. Hence, they move in a random motion. And I was like, ding, I just had this 5-penny drop. You're constantly being bombarded by invisible forces from any and all directions at any given moment in time, causing unbalanced forces within yourself. That's why you don't know whether you are coming or going. It's just going all over. I know you want me to repeat that part. The pollen grains are being constantly bombarded by invisible water molecules coming from all and any directions, causing unbalanced forces within the pollen grain, making it to move in a random direction. And that's how racism affects you. Because racism also works on a mind level. You need tools of the mind to protect yourself. It is invisible, but you will feel it. That's why you will feel it. And that is why you've had such a difficult time trying to expose it. It's not like when you're telling a white friend, oh, the boss is bad, and your friend is like, yes, the boss is bad. But what you're trying to say, but he's bad to you, he's bad to me because he's a bad person. But to me, it also comes with a hint of racism, and you just cannot explain that extra bit that yours has an extra on top. Racism is best friends with hypocrisy as well. Okay? So if you're born in an African tribe, you may have had heart coherence with everyone and everything around you, meaning your heart is open and you exchange your essence freely with others. When you meet someone who's racist, they reject your energy. They do not exchange their essence with you. A life is a question of exchanging essence. You know, when you meet somebody, you greet them, or when you see your dog when you get home, there's a flow of energy from you to the other and from the other to you. That is how the whole of life operates. Even a tree with oxygen and carbon dioxide. Huh? It's as if the tree giving oxygen and only gets a percentage of the carbon dioxide. It's like it's a very unbalanced for Black people because of how many people use energy to withhold back their essence from you. They've been conditioned that way. So when you meet someone who's racist, they reject your energy and they do not exchange their essence with you. All living things need to exchange essence. Yeah? But on another note, they also want a piece of your soul. That is why you felt powerless afterwards. They want to steal what you've got, but they don't want to give you anything in exchange. Is that making sense? So, yep. So like something has been taken from you. They want something from you. They even stole people from Africa. They want your essence. They want your energy. They want your vibration. But they only want it when they steal it and give nothing. You know, energy exchange or return. Think about your children. Huh? Even though children take so much of your time, your energy, your effort, but they give you cuddles, they give you love, even your dog. Like they give you back something in an intangible form because it's exchange, it flows. That is the essence. And I can assure you the people you keep close to your life are the people you can exchange essences with because that's what life is truly about. And the ancients knew that. Anyway, so the ones who want to take a piece of your soul, you'll feel as if something has been taken from you. You unwittingly gave your power away. Huh? And that's the only way they get to do is to steal it. I don't know if you've ever gone to pay for groceries in the cashier. I say it's as if the cashier took their heart out, put it in the last drawer to serve you, and then for the next person, they take their heart back. And you just left feeling, yeah, next time just go to self-service checkout. Nowadays you can do that. You guys, gone are the days where being Black, you didn't have another option. I say, try work with this kind of people. Like, try work with white people. If they don't want to work with you, maybe Indians don't have a problem working with you. If Indians have a problem, maybe the Chinese don't have a problem working with you. My point is, gone are the days where you were only limited in choice. It's you limiting yourself. And you say you believe in God, then believe something. It has infinite potentials to put you where you're meant to be. The slavery of African people had nothing to do with us being inferior. It was about just wanting our energy, as I've told you again. Yeah? And you think you're not powerful. Of course that's what they had to tell you. So anyway, doesn't it surprise you how you do not know the name of the person who moved seats when you moved, when you went and sat next to them, but you remember them, don't you? That was 10 years ago. Isn't it funny? I actually remember my first racist encounter. I was not too new in the country, and I was working in food, like it was fast food, and this old lady, came to pay for her food. And when I went to give her change, she didn't want to touch my hand. But it wasn't the fact that she didn't want to touch my hand that I had a problem with. It's the negativity she projected on me. I think she almost insulted me so that I don't touch her hand. I'm like, do we come overseas thinking this is paradise. I said, God, should I have known I'd be treated in paradise? You'll have taken the highway to hell. At least there you know how you'd be treated. So my point is, isn't it funny? I remember that as if it was yesterday, but it's not. Do you know what I mean? But she felt justified. Right now, she'd be very scared what I'd say back to her, because I wouldn't carry that cross. But when you knew something, I'm sharing this because it took me long to learn. So how do you shield? I grew up Catholic. You can just ask what you believe in to overlook you. Let God only put me where your love will support me. It's really actually helped me. Or depending on what you believe in, you can visualize a protective energy field around you. There are times when I used to go to work, I had to do that every morning. That's another long story. But anyway, or say a prayer that has nothing to do, there's a prayer that I say, nothing that is less than the light and the love of God will touch me today. Ooh, I love that one. God, This is like I remember a lady who said, by the time when she opens her door, walking out of the house, that is why you put your armor. Trust me, you are at war. It's only you who doesn't know it. That's why you get your armor. Nothing that is less than the light and love of God will touch me today. No, nothing that is less than the light and the love of God will touch me today. If you grew up Catholic, you can call upon Archangel Michael to protect you. That also works beautifully. I do. Archangel Michael walks with a big sword. If you did catechism in Sunday school, you'll have been taught that. Anyway, you can also call upon your ancestors or whatever you believe in. The ancestors, I love working with the ancestors because they also give you this power. They strengthen you from inside. They give you like an oomph, a lift. And trust me, your ancestors want to live through you. Huh? So, but what I love most about ancestors is because they're like an army. They stand behind you. And when I see my ancestors, they all hold spears. They all hold spears and they're here with their necks high. Touch one hair on her head and you'll deal with us. That's anyway. The other thing is you can also call parts of your soul that have been stolen. Because as I told you, this thing is done because they want a piece of you, but they don't want to give anything in exchange. So you need a qualified healer. Go find a medicine person, medicine woman, a shaman, to help you find that part of your soul back. Every racist encounter you've had, it's somebody who nicked a part of your soul, and you need to go call it back. And from that moment, you say, no one is stealing my soul anymore. I know you think this is all weird. It's all woo. You think our ancestors didn't know this? Goodness. You just need to go study African witchcraft. I'm not saying you do it. I'm just saying if you go understand the essence behind it, they knew this stuff because this is metaphysics. Huh? That's why sometimes you can go to the village and somebody does something to you, you're like, hey, things in my life is going good or not good. Because they understood how to manipulate energy. Okay? So what I'm trying to get at is this knowledge is as ancient and it's there to help you. Up to you, whatever you believe or not. I'm just here to share the wisdom. Anyway, but I've warned you, it will get weird. And I kept my promise. And now you also need to know the metaphysics of racism. Else, you can be the person who's being used as the pawn in somebody else's game. And it is you who is always losing. You will know when you've shielded because your energy will be up after a racist encounter. You will not think of the person or the event afterwards. You leave it there and then. You dust, like Jesus said, you dust your foot, the dust, you leave it there and you walk away. That shop, gone. That workplace, there you go. Wherever it is, that bus, off you go. Exactly. Yeah. And you'll not think of it again. And you'll realize that racism is a demon that can come from any direction and all directions to devour your soul. And you'll be able to identify it miles away. Because this time you are switched on. This time you're aware. You're like, hey, that person there, I am not. You know how before COVID, you'd be walking on the street and somebody avoids you because you're black. Now it's you avoiding them. You reverse this. It's called Aikido. Aikido. Use their energy against them. Whatever you're giving me back, I give it back to you, and I go the opposite direction. Because coming from Africa, actually, people give you good vibes. But when you live outside of Africa, majority of the time, it's the opposite. Because you've been made to feel black. You're not black. They made you believe you are. Now, that was your fault. Anyway, so better have the armor of God. Ask for your armor every day. Carry your sword of truth, knowing who you are, by learning the truth about your ancestors and your own ancestry. Carry the shield of knowledge, because you are not a victim. People are more afraid of your power than you have been willing to find more about it. And forgive yourself for not knowing this any earlier. Because the worst thing you want is going home after a very difficult day at work and your kids have just experienced racism in school. Empower your children to love themselves. You come from a culture that has lasted hundreds of thousands of years, and you're so dearly loved. And you did not know how to handle human hatred. It's not your fault. Let alone for the color of the skin you were born in. Even for Africans in diaspora, your DNA has been longer on the African continent than the last 400 years out of Africa. So your deepest memories knows only how to belong in unity and love. And that is the truth. Give love. For you to be in a state of well-being, you need your heart open. The qualities of the heart, like kindness, generosity, courage, sensitivities for others. When you come from a place like I came from, you're defined by the qualities of your heart, not the color of your skin. Not even if you're a man or a woman. I remember walking with my grandmother to the market when I was young, and once in a while she'll point out to somebody who the villagers would say, Owen Nkoro Ndoku. Nkoro is the heart. When you live in a tribe, you do not want to be known for a rotten heart. And a rotten heart comes from what you've done to others. This will come from the deeds done by an individual to harm others or to cause other people pain. If you know the qualities of a good heart, you know the qualities of Nkoro Ndoku. Racism comes from Nkoro Ndoku. How do you hate someone you do not even know? How do you hate somebody who's never caused you any harm? Think about it. How do you hate somebody who's never caused you any harm? How do you hate somebody who doesn't even wish you ill? That blocks the heart chakra. So what happens when you are on the receiving end of fear, hate, anger from others on a constant basis? You may start thinking that something is wrong with you. And I did. It gets so painful to feel everything you're experiencing that you too shut your heart. And let me tell you, if you grew up with an open heart and you shut it like I did, it is the most painful thing I've ever experienced. With time, I realized I did not want to be like the closed-hearted ones. I felt what it felt like to live like them, and I learned the wisdom that they live in pain. So it is essential to keep your heart open, especially in the midst of constant hate. You dilute it with your love. So how to keep your heart open? You know, I was surprised once. I was walking in a market and I'd bumped into a lady from Zimbabwe selling plants. She was like the only African with a stall there, and she was selling all these cactus plants and all these plants. You know, we get talking. And She shared with me her struggle with depression and, having to deal with racism and all that. And she said how the plants had helped her. But it's what she told me next that knocked my socks out. She said to me, I could feel the love from plants. I could feel the love from plants. I could feel the love from plants. She realized that she could love and care for something living. And that kept her heart going. And it helped her lift her out of depression. Because it didn't matter whether others are loving her, it mattered whether she was loving. And the plant did that for her. So now she was selling plants so that other people could have the same experience, sharing her wisdom with the world. During my time in Australia, I've also become fond of dogs and cats. You have them in Africa, but they are own sovereign beings. Guys, I don't even know if our dog has a name. It just is. It takes care of itself. Cats are the same. We don't domesticate things. If it doesn't produce milk or eggs, hey, people don't put too much of their time and energy on it. It's just the truth. Doesn't mean we don't love them. It's just they're there. But they give so much love. Cats and dogs, I've really become fond of them. They can be a bit costly, but if I were you, I would work out how much antidepressants cost. Cat food may be cheaper, give or take. Over the period of a year. Or the narcotics, or the alcohol. Whatever. The drugs, the weed, whatever you need to do to keep your mind sane. Anyway, as I said, they're just suggestions. But growing up in Africa, these things we take for granted is because you have enough human connection. However, out of the African soil, you might need a plant, a cat, a fish, a dog, your pick, or whatever works for you. I suggest trying this before you see a therapist who's never experienced racism, that they convince you need antidepressants. Either way, you need to keep that heart flame burning. And before you do antidepressants, why don't you try your African music? Put on some African music and jump around and dance. And that is known to burn the blocks in your body. I've never needed antidepressants because I have danced. And when you have dance, you dance, all your ancestors will come and jump around with you. I don't know, it just feels like that's what happens. And then you have to remember that joy is your divine birthright. And my joy and your joy is not negotiable. Cleansing. So you shower every day. Good to know. Your energy body needs a cleanse every day too. When you feel energetically drained, chances are you need to cleanse. It simply means you've picked other people's energies. It takes practice to continually shield morning, night, every day. By the time you get off the bus, you go to work, and you come back home, anything there could have happened to you, being a Black person on this planet, that you just take it on, So it takes practice to continually shield morning and night, call in your armor. But even that, you'll still be heavy. It doesn't mean because you left the battlefield, you're not covered in people's blood, even though you survived. You still need your rest. You still need to rejuvenate, recuperate, and continue. There'll be days when you'll forget that you needed to ask for armor. Have you been to those conferences where you're the only Black person in a room of 100 and you walk in and the first thing you get is, what are you doing here? You're like, I'm here to learn. Where else can I learn? But the energy, and then they say, get into groups and discuss, and you can barely find one person who is interested in grouping with you. You're like, this world. Hey, people, you have to see the humor in this, or hey, it can pull you down, and you do not want that. I do not want that for you either. I'm telling you, there's a lot of joy in this world, and please, you're here to experience it all. Bless it and move on. But anyway, there'll be days you'll forget. There'll be days like those, like I mentioned in the conference, or sometimes it's until you've drunk that coffee that was served to you with a fake smile. Then you wonder why your stomach is tightening. It's as if they didn't want to serve you, but they couldn't, so they just put their disdain in your cup. And then you go like, I don't think I'm feeling well. I go like this. I say this. I say, before I came here, I was feeling good. Now I'm here. I'm no longer feeling good. What happened? Anyway, you'll find your own formula. But anyway, with time, you discern where your energy is welcomed and where it's not. Personally, right nowadays, I believe in the power of prayer. If I walk even to a shopping mall and I'm going like, I say, God, direct me to which coffee shop I need to go to. And just as I'm walking, I just feel into it. And 9 out of 10, ever since I started doing that, I've always been somewhere where somebody will show me Ubuntu. Ubuntu is just a human compassion and kindness. Guys, when it comes to racism, even people who are paid to be kind to you are not kind. Even when they are paid to be kind. Yeah, that's what I mean. Anyway, but that is a whole book on its own. But for now, think of times. You went to that concert, that conference, walked into a library, people looked at you funny. No one said a word, but you picked it. That's why you get home and you feel like you brought 1,000 people with you. It's because you did. So please note, this happens to empaths as well. Empaths are just people who feel more. But as well as all races, people feel it. Just that with you, you've got too many people who are up in your business. Huh? Babies pick it up, babies pick energy, pets pick energy. But going up to when it comes to you, you've got more against you. Just hear me out for a bit. I'm a Black woman, right? I'm married to a white man. I've been called his mistress. I've been asked if I married him for the papers, money. Like people, even my brains have been attested to being with a white man. I mean, it's like credit to being with a white man is why you're in Australia. I'm like, alas. But my father, who worked so hard to get me into this country, does not even get the credit. When you're in an interracial couple, you realize the world has a problem because love is not considered to be an equation. It's as if people are all up in your business. We've walked in conferences where people are like, who do you think you are? I remember a time, even one time he was trying to apply for something of professional work. And can you imagine, somebody had written, we question his integrity because I was called his mistress because of the mistress. Hi. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. These are people I don't know. What problem do they have with me? But as a Black woman in an interracial relationship, you'll understand there are people with a problem with you. You didn't even know them. You didn't know what the problem is. It just is the way it is. And even right now, that's why I'm a really big advocate on helping Black women to be self-empowered. Because God knows we have been more misunderstood than... that's a pain point. That's a pain point. Anyway, moving forward, we're talking about cleansing now, but you get the idea. The only difference is that empaths can hide, but your melanin, that will broadcast your arrival. So learn to cleanse your home. If you like to use incense, if you like to use crystals, if you like... Incense is like when you go to church and they burn incense, frankincense, sage, whatever works for you, right? You know how some people put salt, some people use salt, whatever clears negative energy. But cleanse your home, cleanse your car, cleanse your workspace. I remember when I used to work in engineering, I used to have a small crystal, amethyst crystal on my desk because God knew I needed it. God knew I needed something just to keep negative energies. But if you live next to the ocean, just go dip yourself in the salty water. And one of the Orishas from Nigeria is known as Yemaya. She's the goddess of water. She's the black goddess who's known as the mother of all goddesses, Yemaya. And she's also known as the oceans. And one of the most beautiful stories I came across is when the slaves were on the ocean and being shipped from Africa, the coast of Africa to the America, and wherever they're being taken, they prayed to Yemaya, to keep her. And she loves to dance like waves. When you dance for Yemaya, you dance as if, the waves are just carrying you. And I remember one time we're doing a purification ceremony because I've gone back to the traditional teachings of my ancestors. And I spoke to Yemaya, and she's this goddess of and she's melanin coated. She's a black woman. To me, she came across as a black woman. I told her, is there a problem with my melanin? This is what she told. This is what she did. She sat back like this. She was like, like, look at me, child. I'm your mother. Do I look as if there's anything wrong with me? Look at all this magnificence. You embrace that melanin, woman. Come on, child. Embrace your magnificence. She didn't even answer it in words. She was just like, it's black women talk. The way black women talk in symbols, in 10,000 things in one. There you go. Embrace your melanin. Love your melanin. Oh, it's your superpower. Do you know how much product people use to look like you? Honey, that's a story for another day. Anyway, smudge yourself, have a salt bath, whatever it needs. Find something that lifts off that negative energy. But if you go to the ocean, do a dance and a sing with Yemaya, dance for the waves. Everybody will be looking at you, but anyway, if you're the only black person on the beach, you still will stand out like a sore thumb. So just do your dance for Yemaya. People will think you're nuts, but that's no problem. They already do. That doesn't change it. So anyway, consider having crystals, as I said, that home, workplace, even in what you wear. I wear a crystal myself. Yeah, that's my special one, but she helps me a lot. Yeah, amethyst, I said, keeps negative energy away. But anyway, this is why I argue with Christians, because they go like, I don't believe in crystals. Up to you. Antidepressants work better. You think Christians are not depressed? Go for it. However, just ask yourself, have you been so brainwashed? Where do you find the world's largest crystals? Africa. Then you come telling me they are evil. Because a missionary told you so. Our ancestors knew crystals could stop positive energies. So maybe next time you visit your own village, go find a sacred shrine. Go find that sacred site. Let me know if you do not find crystals there. I dare you. Before you come telling me crystals are evil, your ancestors worshipped on sacred sites, and all of them had some form of a crystal. I know of a place even the Maasais go. The crystallization is on top of the land as the water is going through. You don't have to believe things just because a missionary said it was wrong. Anyway, but with that said, if antidepressants work better for you, be my guest. Our ancestors danced to shake off the negative energy from the body. And what is interesting, and this is also known to cleanse your meridians, your chakras. What I mean is your energy system, the side of your body you feel. That's why the doctor cannot find your broken heart in your body, because it's not there. It's in your chakra system or your negative thoughts, That's why, but when was the last time you danced? Just go jump around and just feel your ancestors join in. And you'll feel so much better. There's a very interesting story after the genocide of Rwanda. I told you we'll be here a long time. You can pause, go on a toilet break, get another cup of tea, but you need to hear this. From a sister. Who wants the very best for you so that you do not waste time and live a better future for the world, mainly your children, but for humanity at large? genocide in Rwanda. So anyway, during the genocide in Rwanda, there was a, what do you call it? All these therapists from around the world came from different parts. And then they're thinking, oh, we need to help all these people who've lost, millions of people had been killed in the genocide. And all people were bringing all these modalities from the outside. And it reached a point that Rwandese government was like, enough, stop. They started kicking foreigners out of the country. And foreigners are like, what's wrong with you people in Africa? We're here to help, and now you don't need our help. They said no. They said, when our spirits had, when our spirits had died, when there was so much pain and agony, when our blood had stopped flowing, none of your methods involved dancing and drumming in the sun that the blood would start flowing again and the spirit will come alive. Instead, you called us in small rooms one by one to talk about the bad things that had happened. So this bit is about having a spiritual practice. Yeah, this is where I fight with a lot of my own people. My own people, I mean people who look like me more. It's when you talk about spirituality, not religion, but spirituality. That existed before religion. But I cannot emphasize this enough. Racism operates on the realm of the unseen. If you're to defeat it, you need spiritual tools and techniques to overcome it, because you need to heal the mind, the body, and the soul. One of the best quotes I saw was from a doctor, forgetting his name, but he'd said, I wish I could write the cause of death was racism. And this was not the shootings or no, it was like, because this person's heart died and soul, because he just was not allowed to be a human being. And he'd said, he wrote a quote, he said, when the soul is ignored long enough, the body rebels to prove its existence. When the soul is ignored long enough, the body will rebel, whether it will come up with a tumor, sicknesses, cancer. I'm not saying if anyone has got those things, that's what it means. I'm just saying if you're living in a condition where you're not accepted as a human being all the time, when the soul is ignored long enough, the body will rebel to prove its existence. And he said, I wish so many cases I see of people dying of broken hearts, I could just have said the reason for death was racism. And that was not the shootings of people. So with that said, you cannot turn to a white racist God to protect you against racism. Not one who created you to be inferior anyway. I have tried. Africans have been worshipping the Creator before any foreigner set a foot on that continent. Who was the God of your ancestors? I know my grandmother believed in Ngai. Was he Nkai? Mulungu? Was he kind, merciful, benevolent, or did he create you to be inferior, to be hated for your skin color, which he created you in? To be enslaved by others because you're less than. I remind Africans that Christianity was bought with rice. For missionaries to fill the churches, they bargained with rice. Rice, people. We traded our beliefs for rice. Don't get me wrong. I enjoy the teachings of Jesus. I love him. He's like a brother, man. Jesus is so cool, But I'm not sure how much of the translation of the Bible, especially the rest of the teachings, into African language was accurate. I'm not debating what's in the Bible. I'm saying the one that came to Africa to get us on ships. Those who live overseas have attended churches. How empty are the churches overseas? Actually, I'll tell you, the last time I went to church, there were 14 people. The two were me and my husband, right? The other 12 literally had walked from the nursing home across the road. And I can tell you it's because they knew they are on their way out. That's why they were coming for Mass. Didn't Africa get the memo? You know, it bothers me that I cannot visit an ancestral shrine before somebody jumps out of their skin thinking it is wrong. Can't you feel the vibration of a sacred site? It has been there 300,000 years, and you tell me it's evil, not because you know it's evil, but because a missionary thought so. Missionaries were in bed with the colonialists. They didn't come there for God. They were in bed with the colonialists, okay? So if you want true Christianity, the spirituality, then look for truth. Christians will realize that Jesus told his disciples, go preach to the nations. If you read the Bible carefully, most of the disciples who had a direct contact with Jesus were hunted down and persecuted. There's a song we used to sing in Kenya. You know, this does not mean I'm not a believer. I'm just saying discern the truth. It was Paulo na Sila waliomba, Paulo na Sila waliomba, milango za gereza zikafunguka. You know, if you know the song, right? And this was a song when Paul, you know, Paulo na Sila, when Paul and Silas had been imprisoned for just preaching the word of God, you know, and they prayed till the angel of the Lord came and just blew, you know, like the gates of the prison opened, that they just had to let them go. But that is what they had to go through just to get this out. Now you make it look as if it was acceptable truth. Do you know how many people were burnt at the stake? You just needed to say, I saw the man called Jesus. I saw him walk there. And you're gone. Any evidence? You know, the Roman soldiers who were at the tomb of Jesus when he resurrected, they were all killed. The Roman soldiers who were guarding the tomb for saying he had resurrected had to be wiped out. No evidence, people. So, do you do any further research, or what you've been given is true? Because what you believe, that's your fault. Doesn't matter what you've been given. But we need to reach the age of questioning things. I have met people who could be Buddhist, Hindus, with true values. People who you remember one time I think I was flying back to Kenya, and there was this, I could see they were religious men. It was in Dubai, wearing their robes, carrying the Quran. And I was standing behind them in the queue, and standing behind them, I felt this light of God cover over me. I knew I was in the presence of holiness. It was in their aura. I don't have to know what Muslims believe, but when you're a true believer of something bigger than themselves, it radiates out of you. Animals, look at St. Francis of Assisi, animals would be drawn to him. People are drawn to you. They don't run away from you. There's something that is wrong. They're drawn, you know? They're drawn to you because people feel a solace. People feel the love of God when they're near you. So what exactly do you believe? And if you want to really learn the true Christianity, you only need to start in a place like Kerala, India. And I'll tell you why. Because by the time the Roman Catholic arrived, there were 2 million true Christians who were not bought off with rice. You do your research and prove me wrong. Like, to have at least, what I believe is that I have researched it, not to negate it, but to find the truth that has been covered up. And believe what is true, not because somebody forced me. You know, like this morning, I was born Catholic, right? This here, I was given by my mother. It is a lesso of it's Mother Mary. It's for Kenya National Women Association. No, it's just a gift my mother gave me. I love it. Yeah, with Mother Mary, Saint Monica, blah, blah, blah. I was born Catholic. I will not lie to you. And I like to pray. But The other day, I was going through something and I found a rosary to Saint Michael. Now, I was in a school, we had to do rosary to Mother Mary every day, every day. I don't know how many years of my life. I can't get it out of myself. It's something, and I'm grateful I did it. But I was like, why is it funny? We were never told there was a rosary to Saint Michael. Why was it removed? And you know what I found out? So I started looking back, who removed it? Not all popes were good. The reason we're having problems in the church is not because a lot of people there were all work for God. Yeah? But ever since they removed the rosary of Archangel Michael, in the Catholic Church, we have had pedophilia, abuse of children. Now, at what point don't you ask yourself questions? I'm not saying you have to be Catholic. I'm just saying some of us have already done the 5 out of 7 sacraments because we were born in it. We had to take English schools to be enrolled into Catholic schools. I have no problem. I have no problem with it. That doesn't mean I do not search for truth. That's a God given. And I think the greatest crime Africans ever made was to let other people think for us. And we still do it to this day. And a lot of them have played us. And look where we are. Sometimes I say, God, how did we fall from grace? How? Because I do know this. You know, when God says you are protected until you sin, until you allow it in. And when you live in, and he says, these are my commandments, you live by this, nothing can touch you. He even told the Israelites, if you don't live according to my law and will, anything will happen to you. So I've always wondered, God, how did we fall from grace? That's for you to do your own research. But like with that I said, most Africans believe in a source, a creator, higher power. We didn't need a constitution. We just knew how to treat each other. And we had different names for God, Ngai, Nyasai, Enkai, whatever, but it meant the same thing. The divine presence, the inner flame, that inner spark that lives within every person, and the love that binds everything together. God is the light within each and every one of us. And that is the only truth that has been passed on since beginning of time. That's why in every African culture, if you've heard the Indians saying namaste, yeah? Even in my tribe, when you greet somebody, you greet even Sawubona. When you go to South Africa, they say Sawubona. Yeah? The light in me sees the light in you. The God in me sees the God in you. And that's what I'm greeting. Hello, my feathered friend. That was the ostrich. But I see him as a brother. This is that is how we lived. So Black people should know better than to allow the people to reduce you to the color of your skin and bones. Because for generations, you know better than any other race that you are a magnificent soul. You know that. You know you're not a physical thing. You are a divine spark of the Creator itself, made in the image of the Creator. I will repeat that. Black people should know better than allow others to reduce you to skin and bones and the color of your skin. Because for generations, you knew you were a magnificent soul, a divine spark of the Creator itself. Black people should know better than to allow others to reduce them to just skin and bones and the color of your skin. For generations, you knew that you were and you are a magnificent soul, a divine spark of the Creator itself. Prayer. True prayer is intention. But true prayer and intention will go a long way. Prayer is a good way to speak to whoever you think created you. Tell him or her your troubles. Just like your children talk to you, speak to the Creator with prayer. When I pray, I ask God, place me where your love will protect me. And when I do so, I'll walk into that coffee shop selling Kenyan coffee. I cannot control it. Or, uh, or they'll have a picture of an elephant on the wall. Or I will be at an Airbnb and notice the owners were reading the book Unbowed by the late Nobel Peace Prize laureate Wangari Maathai. And all that tells me my energy was welcomed there. I always say to God, send me a sign that I will understand. Sometimes I find people who volunteered in Africa and their minds are more welcoming and receptive to me and my energy and what I bring. But when I relied on my own understanding, I cried with one eye like a goat. Meditation. Meditation is listening to the answer. Meditation can be combined with prayer or it can stand alone. Even Jesus meditated when he went out to the wilderness. This is not an Eastern philosophy. My grandfather spent his afternoon meditating. He just didn't call it that. He would rest after the midday sun had passed with the bark upon the tree, having woken up early, fed his flock, tilled the land before resting. And that moment, he was present in the now. He's always in the now, but at that moment, he was still with the wind, the birds chirping, the river flowing, his heart beating, the blood flowing, the earth. And you're just present to it all, to what you're feeling, to what thoughts are coming to you. I just thought the tree was magical because whenever he got up, he had all his solutions. Years later, I understood. Daily rituals. Daily rituals, I used to emphasize intention. I remember when I learned that the skin is the largest organ. Can you think about it? Your skin is the largest organ in your body. So when you've been hated for your skin color, it's like having somebody cut it with cut you with a blade every single time. And if people just didn't like your eyes, it's just that, or didn't like your hair. But your skin, it's everywhere. It's the death of 1,000 cuts. So if your skin is the reason why people don't like you, why don't you turn it around? You can't make them like you, but why don't you make it the reason you love yourself? Women, we need to teach this to our daughters. Do you know what happens to a young black girl who has not been taught to love herself out in the world? Do you really want to carry that in your consciousness to your grave? Simply you didn't tell her how to love herself? Or a young boy? So one of the things you can do with your daily rituals, one of my daily rituals is when I'm moisturizing with my shea butter. One of my friends actually told me it's good to put shea butter in the sun, get it charged by the sun. I order it from Tamale, Ghana, but you can find it in the shops. But anyway, I rub it in my palm, I turn it from liquid to solid, or put it in the sun. People do not understand how much it takes to invest to maintain melanin. This is work. Do you know the scrubbing, to keep it like this, and when I say black don't crack, it's because there's a lot of investment that goes to take care of the melanin. There's nothing about how you're put together as a black person that does not take time. Do you know how long it takes time for me to get my hair done? I've had braids done for 11 hours. Well, we call it therapy because you're talking to the other women and they're giving you life wisdom, life advice. You talk about what's going wrong in your life, what's going good, your kids in school. That's what braiding hair is all about. It's all about bonding. But what I'm trying to get at is even when you're putting butter in the morning, it's a form of a prayer. And this is a good one. I created this one myself after learning I needed to put some love in. If what is enough love, the hate of the world will not empty. Enough love that the hate of the world will not empty it. You top yourself with enough love that the hate of the world will not empty it. And when I put my shea butter, my coconut oil, I say, I love my melanin. I love my melanin. I love my melanin. And I do that in the mirror. And by the time I finish, my skin is glowing. I can change what others think, but I can make sure my skin is healthy. I can make sure my skin is glowing with vitality because I am in control of that. You can create your own rituals too, but we need to teach our children to love themselves and their skin. Lord knows we cannot be there 24/7 to protect them. We can only teach them, show them by example, lead by examples, and be kind, love others, and most of all, teach them to love themselves. Huh. Speaking up, I don't know if by now you need another toilet break or water, but how I have come to see it is that one person has to carry the cross. It just cannot be me. People will load their baggage on you if you let them. Sometimes you just need to say, I don't appreciate the tone. Most people do not know we are the masters of our words and the sounds. Now, you know how in African culture you can say an entire paragraph in one word or sound, even a click? Huh? Mm-hmm. that was a whole paragraph. So we've learned to discern the energy behind words. You know, in my language, Meru, you can't say you love a person because the amount of heart, you know, here people can be racist towards you and call you love. I love. Eh, in Meru, you cannot do that. You know, to even tell somebody you love them, you have to put 100% of your heart in. You, the, it calls out of your being to put your energy behind those words. Not this, love you. No, you can't do that. You see, Africa is such an ancient continent. We still remember the magic behind words, the power behind words, and if it still carries the energy of our ancestors, because those words have been used for tens and tens of thousands of years, they still carry that energy. Yeah? I know the Aboriginals in Australia, they've got things they call song lines. Imagine a song that has been sung 10,000 years straight. Can you feel the energy in that? And you want to get rid of that for what? For somebody who will never accept you? Aye, people, we really need to think these things through. But anyway, what I'm trying to get to you is, for African people read energy behind the words because that's what we do. It's just an art we never lost. So I just tell people I can read the intentions like a book. Like they don't hide it from me. Hide it from yourself. Do it to fool yourself. But don't do it to think you're hiding it from me. Because I was taught to read the energy behind people's words. Remember, grandmother used to say things to me like, Kageni, when people smile at you, don't look at their teeth. You know, like the truth is a bone. When people smile at you, look into their eyes. Then you'll know whether they mean it or not. When you're meeting people who carry this wisdom, don't think you're trying to fool them by your fakeness. Do it to fool yourself, because we know. As I said, racism operates in the same realm with hypocrisy. So does witchcraft. It's somebody wishing you ill. They wish you do not find out. Huh? That person who's casting those spells there, but they don't want you to know. Yeah, that person being racist to you, they don't want you to find out. But you can see the result that something is not adding up. Huh? For you, 1+1 became 10. You're like, hey, how we put 1+1 together? I didn't mean in binary, I mean in normal numbers. So, but it's somebody wishing you ill. They don't want you to find out, but you can see something is not adding up on your end. So that's why you need to call it out. If you don't, you will walk away with your own blocked throat chakra. This is when you walk out of that cafe, that library, wherever you are, and you feel as if you've just carried a load off your back. You've just gone to return a book and you're left with a big, heavy load. But if you do anyway, you have to leave them with their crosses to carry. But how many people's crosses are you carrying in a day? People just see you, they're like, I can make myself lighter, take some of my problems. You're not, let me tell you, you might not even know why you're here on the planet, but I can tell you what you're not here for. You're not here to be other people's punching bag for their negativity. And I stand with God for that. I swear that by God's name, you are not here to be a punching bag for other people's negativity. You're here because you have a purpose. You're here because you've got gifts and talent the world needs to see. You're here because God loves you no less than a blade of grass. And do not let anybody tell you you're less than. Yet there's so many people who want to look like you. Can't you see why you're overwhelmed? Are you taking people's crosses on your way to work, at work? You get home, then your child tells you somebody called them a monkey in school. You cannot escape racism even when you're on holiday. It will find you there unless you go back to your motherland or back to Africa or a place where you can be accepted. But you know what? I actually have to be honest, I never experienced any racism in places like Bali and Thailand either. But everybody has their own life to lead. What you can do to get yourself supported is they also find a group, WhatsApp groups. Don't get to those groups where people all do is to complain all day. You want a group that empowers you. Because sometimes, I had worked in a job and I left after 5-6 years. And years later, it's funny because I'm sharing the story to my own husband, and I'm telling him of all these things that have happened. And he's going like, Geni, you're facing racism at work. Like, I don't know if I'd just blunted it out. I didn't want to know. I didn't want to see it. I just told myself it was something else. Sometimes it takes somebody who loves you. It could be your family who'll tell you that's not the right way to treat people. You are not treated fairly there. Because they've even made you believe you're making things up, but you're being too emotional. Or we're not paying you well. You're just being too... We were so kind, we took you in. Right? It's that whole thing of Black people, you should be very grateful because we are not shooting you. You need to stop complaining because we are underpaying you. It's going back to that. You're still taking something, you're still withholding something. Guys, that's the place we are at as humanity. Else we wouldn't be having all these problems we are currently having. So what I'm getting at, sometimes you just need that sounding board to tell you, darling, you are dearly wronged. That was not right what those people did to you. It was not right for that woman in that shop to treat you like that. It was not fair for your children to be treated like that in school. That teacher needed to have done something when all the kids started laughing, calling him a monkey. You were done wrong. That's the kind of a support you need. Because then you'll go, okay, it's healing I need. Not, guy, am I making this thing up? Do you know how that messes your psychology? Am I making things up? No wonder people end up, like a lot of women, a lot of research has been shown of women who've been in abusive relationship long term. And every woman had this thing whereby it's like, hey, but he only bet me on Friday night, but on Saturday he was so nice. He said this, he said that. Like, you start questioning whether they should have beaten you on Friday evening. The truth is they shouldn't have. But it's this undoing, yeah? It's the mouse effect. They bite, then they blow. They bite, then they blow. And because the pain is not too much that you're gonna jump 2 feet high, you think things are going well, but to be honest, it's you being drained every single moment. Yeah? But the worst thing you can do is to deal with racism alone. Huh? Now let me tell you an interesting story. One time I'm talking to my mom. I had been living in Australia 16 years. But I don't know what this one had broken my back. It was a woman who, anyway, it was something that had gone on at work. And I just called my mom, and I realized in 16 years I had never told my mother I had experienced racism. It's like you go, but this one was so blunt. I called my mother in Africa. My mother was like, oh, she said, God, why did you send my daughter that far? A place I cannot even make her cup of tea. She feels better. She's like, again, that is the devil's heart. So she said to me, she's like, hey, you need to pray for that. Pray for her. She's like, that is the devil's heart. She's like, again, and then the next day she's like, again, I didn't sleep that night. Huh? She's like, I mean, when you told me that, so she was so disturbed. And then I realized all these 16 years I had been saving her from that. But this one was just too much. Like, and you're too far that if you're here in Nairobi, I could just have said, come home, I make you some chapati, some tea, you go back feeling good. How do you tell an African mother that her child is not lovable for the color of the skin she was born in? Educate yourself. Educate others. Before I came to Australia to study, I had 6 relatives overseas: the US, the UK, Australia, a bit in Europe, but not much, like Italy. And no one raised my awareness about racism. You come from Africa, greeting everybody on your block and wondering why your neighbor is ran away screaming. And it's not the right way to find out that you are a little bit different from a different culture. And for you, you just thought you were extending humanity. They were seeing it as something else. You've never experienced it before, and your eyes see outside. So you are surrounded by Black people, and now there's white people, and no one told you is the meaning they attach to your skin color. There was a lady who had sponsored a kid from Africa, like from a really poor slum, and she decided to bring him to Australia. This kid was living, when you say dirt poor, white people should not use the word dirt poor, because when you go to Africa, you see what dirt poor is, but I know what they mean. It's an expression. So anyway, she was thinking this white woman was thinking, I'm doing the right thing. Bringing this kid, I want to show him Australia, The kid was beside himself, loved it. Absolutely loved it. Question is, where am I going on it? Look, where am I going with this situation? Where am I going with this story? Oh, no, this is interesting. So this philanthropist, let's call her the philanthropist, sheltered this man. Yeah, by then he was like 19, so he was like a Black man. He looks like a Black man, not a boy. So like she took him only where, those volunteers who'd gone to Kenya, who knew him, who felt we sponsored you. Those are the ones coming to the barbecues. And this guy lived in her house. So one time we're having a conversation. I'm like, this woman is so oblivious to the racism there is in this world, and especially in Australia. I mean, I'm saying that because I've got a list of stories that I have experienced. I'm not saying it's a racist country. I'm saying I have experienced racism, and these are all my stories. Some of them I even have names and their Facebook handles. So that's what I'm saying. So before people start coming to say, are you saying Australia is racist, or US is racist, or UK is racist? I'm not saying that. I'm saying this is what I have experienced. Anyway, so she decides to shelter him. He goes back to Kenya. Let's call him Daudi. So next time I'm having a conversation to Daudi, I'm Kenyan. I'm Kenyan who's lived here long enough to understand what my experience has been. And anyway, so this philanthropist throws a line, and I'm like, you didn't give this boy a true taste of Australia. You shielded him. I mean, you took him to the coffee shop, all the safe places where people know what you do is the people who'd been to Kenya to volunteer, or people who sponsored him, or people who raised the money. I said, I dare you. Should you have left him on his own for a day? Let him go to that coffee shop and order Kenyan coffee from that coffee shop, and see how he'll be treated. I say, as a black man, let him go driving down the freeway. I say, you want to entertain yourself? Let him find an Airbnb to stay for one night. Now he'll understand what we go through. Not this facade you have created for him of this paradise. Let him know what it feels like to live as a black man in Australia. Then you'll have given him the experience. So my brothers and sisters, before you pay a ticket for your mother, your father, your sister, that cousin who's coming to you, or a kid you picked up from, I don't know, what do you call Kibera? Because you want to show them a good life and you want to sponsor them to come live here, give them an induction. Another way is, tell them what to, okay, not fear-based, but tell them of your stories, tell them what you experienced, tell them, when people do this, this is what this means. It's got nothing to do with you. There's nothing wrong with your skin color. We don't know those things till we come here. But they will stand by you, tell them the truth. But the other thing is, tell your white friends about your experiences. Tell them the truth. For the longest time, I used to protect my white friends from it. And then I realized my white friends, because they love me, they thought every white person treated me like that. And I'm like, no, you are in the top less than 10% who treat me like that. Then they reach the awareness, the awakening. And I remember one of my friends, we had this conversation and they really painted a really good picture. It's something I'm really good at. I'm able to really take scenarios. I'm going like, listen, darling, here I am living in your house like your daughter or your friend. I just need to walk 10 steps and there'll be somebody here who'll have a problem with me just when walking outside the house. Like, get them to awaken. Get them to awaken. You need to understand that shopping mall you go shopping, I'm not treated the same way as you do. And right now you're my friend because I only know you. How many of your family do you even think would be comfortable with the idea I'm your friend? Awaken white people, because you'll be surprised they'll support you. But they'll go like, oh, this is a lot to take in. Yeah, but that's what it will take to change things. Some of my white friends are even more appalled by how I was treated than I was. And they'll do whatever they can in their capacity to make sure that it's safe, it's a safer future for us all. Just avoid those who do not seem to know what you're talking about. Avoid those people who start with things like, I don't believe racism exists in Australia because I have never experienced it and I am white. Avoid those ones. You're not going to get anywhere. In most cases, they won't be your close friends. They can't be. Empathy is about you understanding what I'm going through. And yes, your son may play with my daughter in school, but somebody in that school called my daughter monkey. And that teacher failed my daughter the third time because she just didn't want the smartest kid in class to be black. And if you don't know that, then you can't be my friend because you're not willing to share my pain. And that is not empathy. Awaken others. Majority of people are asleep. It's not their problem. They have never experienced it. It's not in their world or their reality. But for you, this is an everyday experience. It's a moment by moment. You're constantly being bombarded from any and all directions. It's a bad game of dodgeball and the ball has your name on it. You see, back in history, it was easy to identify the KKK. Nowadays, they are unmasked. You realize when it's too late, in some cases, you're dead. That is not the best way to learn that someone blamed you for their own fears and their generational hatred. I believe underneath, in every racist person, there is always a seed that you never find out that you are not inferior. Why would you knock anyone down who's already down? Like, in what galaxy? I have found most racists to be very insecure in themselves. And when somebody's being racist at me, when I look in the eye, I notice the spark is gone. There is no light in the soul. They are easily threatened and they need to put others down to feel better. The only difference, you're easy to identify. Listen, even in towns, now let me put it this way, in schools where there's no kids from the outside and they're all white kids, there's still a kid who's bullied. Just when you show up, you're an easier target. They are easily threatened. So it has nothing to do with you. But you did not come all the way from Morangas to put other people down or to hate them, half across the ocean. When there are those teaching their children to hate, we have to be aware what we want to teach our children. To love. That's your legacy to the world. Are you going to leave love behind or hate behind? Because in 2 generations down the line, you'll see what happens. Because that's where hope is. There's hope. One time, I went with Charlie, and we had to get his car service. I've told you he's white, happens to be white, but he switched on. He switched on. I think God just gives you the person God put you with. And don't forget, I tell my sisters, whenever you marry a white man, always remember there'll be those who think you betrayed the whole race because you should have looked harder for a brother. I'm telling you, the Black woman is bombarded from all corners. But you think this article is wrong? You wait till I start addressing the issues of being a Black woman. From all ends, family, culture, tribal, life, white men, white women, Black women, everyone else. I cannot go there right now. But anyway, so Charlie happens to be white. He's my husband. He's paid the goats, African culture. But we call him Motembe. When he went to Africa, he was embraced with that Ubuntu. They gave him an African name. He's accepted. He loves, he said he feels he belongs there because of how people treat him. But he understands that sometimes we go to places where I am not even allowed, let alone to belong. So he sees it. But anyway, so we've taken his car for our service, and we're sitting in the office to hear the plan. And the guy who's serving us cannot even look at me. It's like he completely put he might as well just put a window there. Completely ignores me. And he looked so uncomfortable in my presence. And you know how some people, it just shows in their face. The energy was so uncomfortable in the room that even he picked up. To the extent he's going like, have I introduced my wife? And then now that's when he's getting very shaky to start including me. But it's like, why do you even have to torment yourself? This is customer service. People, I've told you, there are people who cannot be kind even when they are paid to be kind to you. And that's why I do not waste time arguing with people who do not get it, who don't get it. So how do I know it was racism? So people go like, maybe he was just shy, he was just over what? You know when it's racism, because when you walk out, you are heavier than when you walked in. It's an energetic war, people. Remember, racism is an energetic war. It's people's projections of what they think and feel about you. So it's better to insult people than even just to ignore them. There's a whole science experiment on that. Check the work of Masaru Emoto. They say the child who's ignored, and that's how you end up with psychopaths. But anyway, so I felt the denseness. And then the other thing is, you walk out and you already need a spiritual cleansing from walking into somebody's office. Like, who does that? So I'm like, hey, I would need a spiritual cleanse just to lift this dark cloud that has descended upon me. So, but thank goodness, Charlie is very switched on, and he picked it up and he knew what was going on. That's why you need somebody who's energetically savvy and spiritually attuned, and he knows me so well. So he's like, I know Kageni will go back and say her 2 piece of wisdom, because Kageni's philosophy is, I'm not carrying this cross. One of us will do, and it's not gonna be me. And whoever it will be, they will not be happy. But I came into this room feeling happy. I will leave this room feeling happy. Should you have had a note on the door saying, please, I do not allow Black people in this office, I will have not have entered. But for me to enter there and you act the way you're acting in my presence, for crying out loud, I will not tolerate this. Guys, and that is not ego. That is human decency. So anyway, he just was like, Kageni, let me go deal with it. He knew. Anyway, and this is the other thing. We had to go back and just say how unwelcomed I was made to feel. It's like it was a company, everything was glowing. Good seats, everything tip-top luxury, just no humanity. Humanity zero. So anyway, I have a moral compass and intuition that knows when I have been treated less than I will have treated anyone else. And then, those fools who come and tell me, oh, maybe you're reading too much to it. I say, talk to my energy. But looking at his face afterwards, I could tell you the lesson was not mine, it was his. Because I came from a culture where you know when somebody's lying. I told you, you can read their energy, you can feel into their words. And if somebody's saying one thing and means another, or if somebody's just looking down on you even in their thoughts, you can feel it, you can tell it. But this is interesting. I had told you how I was feeling heavy. And our ancestors, especially in African culture, they had weeded out human hypocrisy from the human language eons ago. I can lie to people if I was wanted to. I wouldn't do that because I know it has repercussions. In every other language but my own language. Because people will call you off. They'll call you out. Because we have the word, the sound, the click, the whatever it takes, the saying, the proverb. To tell you only jealousy speaks like that. Imagine when you're saying something and somebody hitting you back with only jealousy can speak like that. They've got wisdom. And it's not just wisdom, it's tried and tested, proven wisdom. Anyway, where was I going with that? But what I had felt from this guy, I wish I could just have said it in one sound, because in my culture, I would have been able to say, this is what you've done in one sound. But anyway, who wouldn't have understood what I'm saying? Because it's all intention-based. But anyway, we can do whatever we can within our tribes. But I feel so grateful that I was equipped to be able to pick up these nuances that humans do, especially that it broods separation. And I feel it in my heart. And so never say to an African, you made it up. Because our discernment meter, it's never stopped working for generations. And there's no room for hypocrisy in African language. People will call out anything you're doing or feeling or thinking, even in your sleep. They'll find a way. Just do it, as I said, do it to light yourself, not to us, not as an African personally. Because we can read energy like a book. And we know when you've ignored us, we know when it was no ill intended, but we can also tell when we've left heavier. We can tell when you wished us ill or even gossiped behind our back. Because you see, this melanin picks it all up. I'm telling you, it's a superpower. It's got antennas. The melanin picks up, we know. So anyway, so we went there, said our piece. The other staff were there just staring. But always remember, when you give feedback, say what you liked, what you didn't like, and what you liked. End on a high. It's called the sandwich method. And leave it there. You just don't go like, I didn't like this hotel. No, say, I enjoyed the rooms. But to be honest, I paid $200. And from what I'm seeing in your website, you actually gave me the $140 night, because I'm pretty sure I ordered one with a base tab, because I always do. So I would really hope next time, or either get my money back because you didn't give me the room I asked for. Yeah. But apart from that, I really also like the bistro and your menu and the bar. But all in all, it was a great experience, and I really love Melbourne because I really loved it here. Just please next time, please just make sure I get what I paid for. But for right now, I'll be happy with a refund. I love visiting Melbourne. So sandwich, good, not good, good. Wrap it up in a nice bow tie, and that works for me anytime. But people, stop carrying other people's crosses. It is time we stop carrying everyone else's crosses. You've got an entire continent to fix. Hmm? Anyway, one more end on end, I was able to walk out of there. The dark cloud lifted, I gave him back his cross, and I walked out of there. Hey, people, sometimes I don't understand. But I walked out of there with my 100,000 ancestors walking behind me. Because you know what? I have graced your office in my presence. Don't think it was you doing me a favor. Well, you're trying to rob me of my dignity. Last but not least, remember your magnificence. Magnificence. Africa culture, we've got Ubuntu. To come back to who we are, we have to go back to the true values of our ancestors. If you grew up in Africa, it's those values you saw in your grandparents, yeah, who had not even had come into contact with Western values. We had values rooted in centuries upon centuries. That chain is unbroken. They taught us to be well-meaning, wish other people well. Most important, not to harm others, not even in our thoughts or in our deeds. I like what Mandela was a great personification on Ubuntu. And you can find the clip on YouTube where Mandela is talking what Ubuntu is. It's one word that means so much. Self-respect, sharing, caring, all that. All that. But anyway, African people have always lived in an open society from the beginning. Even without written history, we can find what is deep and innate within us. Even for those with African roots born out of Africa, deep within you, this rings true. Brotherhood, huh? Haven't you ever wondered, despite everything, even black people in America have gone through, you just don't hear black people taking guns to go and killing white children, huh? In schools? People, don't you think after everything we've gone through, we'd be the terrorists of humanity? And we'd be justified to do that. But we don't. The black woman literally raised white children and loved that child as if it was her own, despite being enslaved, despite her own children being taken and sold off, despite her husband being killed for a white man to use her as a mistress. And to this day, you still be looked upon as that in some circles. Because deep within the true values we carry, that comes from the source of life. And so when somebody's trying to make you sound like you're the most violent race on the planet, African people, we are known for dancing and singing. Which African man do you know which other race do you see men dance and sing like the African? Do you think the African man would rather sing and dance or be at war? Huh? He's a product of the black woman, and I know my heart, and I know I'll never betray my heart. He's my brother, he's my father, he's my sister. He's my brother, my uncle, my father, my son. And I know he doesn't betray his heart. He's been painted as a monster, but he's far from it. He's far from it. That's why he needs to remember his own magnificence. And we need to remind it to him, especially to our sons, our fathers, and whisper it back into their souls because the world has done a good job to knock it out. Does it make you wonder why we've not gone all psycho to harm other people? It's because we know better. And it's because we have Ubuntu. I am because you are. There's no place you start. I told you African means brotherhood. I am my brother's keeper. That is you, the black race. Cain and Abel in the Bible. You are the brother's keeper. You're not Cain who did what he could to kill the brother. And you need to remember that. So anyway, we know how we treat others is what defines us. And the beautiful qualities of the heart, like kindness, courage, compassion, will win over any fear, hatred, and cold-heartedness. Now you know how to keep your heart warm and radiate that compassion out into the world that is so desperately in need of it. Know yourself and remember to sing and dance. I've often wondered why the African ancestors did not have much written down history, which has led me to believe that we were not advanced, but quite to the contrary. If you had something that was more valuable than gold, where would you keep it? Spoiler alert. It's about to get weird, but you guessed it, it's inside your DNA. Okay, now I know I've lost you, but African culture, every indigenous culture initiated members of the society through a rites of passage. Just bear with me and allow me to explain it, the little actual research I've done. In electrical engineering, there's a phenomenon known as inductance in magnetism. So like, for example, when you have a live wire lying next to a dead wire, meaning it's not connected to anything, but this one is connected to the power supply and it's live. If you leave this dead wire and you come back a few, maybe give it some time, and come touch the dead wire, you get zapped. What happened is the live wire, the current passing through copper creates a magnetic field around it to circulate, around the copper wire, and cuts through the dead wire field. It's magnetism, right? And it activates what was already there dormant, the magnetic field. And where this magnetic field and this copper, it causes the current to flow. Something like that. I know you don't all want to be electrical engineers, but it's enough for you to understand. During our initiations, look at any sangomas. All the knowledge that is attuned to them is through those who came before them. So our ancestors did not write things down because they didn't have to, they transmitted it. That's why you've had the phrase, everything you need is within you. Precisely. I will use this opportunity to share with you how I accidentally activated this within myself. My great-great-grandmother was a healer. She was a medicine woman, and my grandmother. And I had no idea that this gift had been passed down to me. So like usually when I say healing, you know, in the past, they're called moraguri. Those people who had that gift, you are born in it. It's the bloodline. It came through the bloodline. But what was happening, because I carried this gift and I was never aware of it, things were happening weird in my life. At night, it's like I would have all these dreams and I'm learning so many things in my dreams, and then it just comes to me. So if somebody's coming to see me with a problem, and my grandmother was the same, and they're talking to me about the problems, I'm just giving them the solutions they need. And that's how the healing gift works. But what I'm trying to say is, like, yes, I've done certificates. Like, I've done certificates in coaching, I've done certificates in what's called Reiki, and I've done this. But when I'm actually helping people, whatever flows through me, that comes from some kind of what I call ancestral inheritance. It's something that comes from a place deep within me. It's not mine, but it's something that's passed on through your ancestors to you, and you pass it on to your children, and it goes down the bloodline. We call it the magic. The magic flows through us. And my clients will tell you, People tell me like, oh, I was getting depressed, I was getting really in a negative state, and I was struggling. I was feeling, something was holding me back, and I went to seek again, and now I'm clear about my purpose. I'm clear where I'm going, and that's something I help people do. And maybe even maybe you've been looking for somebody who gets this at this level, because you've got your ancestral gift let alone your own soul gift. You've got ancestral gift, and that's something I can help you with, to find that and use it in this life. Hmm? But it is a powerful, let's call it magic, because I don't know what the best word to give it. But what I'm trying to say, whenever I'm helping with clients, whether it's coaching, whether it's what people call healing, not because healers heal, but healers create the space to allow people to heal themselves. But whatever it is, it's because it comes from somewhere that's very deep, that was passed down to me through my ancestors. And we all have that, all of us. Unless you didn't have an ancestor, which means you just fell from the sky, which is different. But as a person with African DNA, you have access to an internet, I call it an internet, of information that goes back hundreds and hundreds of thousands of years, and wisdom. There's this wisdom you can access in yourself. But you have to release the thought that you're nothing. That blocks it. This belief that you are created to be inferior, less than. If you want to hold on to the belief that you're nothing, your ancestors will not even give you that. But when you reclaim your truth, you reclaim your magnificence. A kid, please just write to me and tell me, Kageni, you cannot guess what happened when I finally accepted who I am, and I realized all this that was there for me to use. And right now on the planet, that is what is needed. So turn your focus inward and connect with your true essence. You have gifts, abilities waiting to be used. Find that ancestral song, that dance in your tribe that has lived there for tens of thousands of years, and reconnect with it. See what it will bring out in you. It will just activate you. Like popcorn. It will just like poop, 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 poop. Things will just come up and you're like, wow. Huh? And guys, I know you think, oh, but isn't this too fair? And what will people think? Guys, I work as a speaker. I have stood in stages of thousands, tens thousands, tens of thousands, 500 people in a room, And I'm telling you, when I'm in that room, and I know this is the gift the Almighty gave me to share with these people. Huh? There's nothing better than that. And it comes from my ancestry. You'd be surprised how many people are willing to pay for that, because it's nowhere else. People who have their own businesses. You being an African, it's a unique factor. You already stand out. People have to find their own unique position. You already have your unique position. So go play that drum, listen to that music. I take my drum, I take my music. When I speak, I use my storytelling. If I need to sing a song in the story. And that authenticity is what has made me stand out as a speaker. And even, when was this, 2018, I competed in the World Championship of Public Speaking. And I placed in this, and right now I'm so happy to say I'm the world champion, public speaking, world champion of public speaking, semi-finalist. Right? By being myself, by sharing that magnificence in the world, by showing people this is what I have to offer, and people will love that. The world doesn't want your broken pieces. The world wants your magnificence. And you, my brother, my sister, your magnificence comes from your ancestry. And for those Christians wondering, oh, is it wrong to reconnect with your ancestors? No, it's not. Even Jesus was initiated by John the Baptist. There's that scene where he's talking to Moses and Elijah. It is not strange. That's the way things have always been. The only difference is your chain has never been unbroken. The only thing that stays There is the beliefs that you've been told about your own ancestry. And I can assure you, it's because you were told by somebody who was foreign to you. It's that missionary who told you your ancestors were evil. Things like that. I can't even say it. It feels horrible. Like, how can you even have such a thought? Even me saying it, I just felt my body go like this, like sort of like thoughts. Does that thought even resonate with God? It doesn't. So what you've been made to believe? But you're here to shine your magnificence with the world. And you, my brother and my sister, I know you're going to do it. Anyway, last. No, but not least. Last. Surround yourself with people who see your magnificence. To live in Ubuntu is soulful living, is to honor the heart qualities in yourself and others. When you operate from this standpoint, you can extend the kindness and compassion to others. Ubuntu is the ability to see the magnificence in others as it is in ourselves. Because for you to see the magnificence in yourself, it has to be reflected back at you from others. Right now on the planet, there are a lot of people who don't see their magnificence because they keep robbing everyone else of their magnificence. But you are magnificent. You are born magnificent. You are a child of God, and I hope let these words sink deep into your soul and touch you where your soul remembers this truth. Because I stand by it. You are a child of God, and you belong to be on this planet no less than a blade of grass. And it is your divine birthright. Our ancestors walked on earth like gods because they knew the love, the light the Creator had stored in the sacred chambers of their hearts, the sacred chambers of your heart, where that love of God has never left you. Black man, black woman, black child, you know this. To act as if God is outside of you is to play small, for God is within. You have every right, like everyone on this planet, to belong on this earth, to shine your light right through that melanin-coated skin of yours, pore by pore, you shining that light, and awaken to the magnificence within you. Reconnect with your ancestors and reclaim your true heritage and wake this planet up. Reclaim your true spirituality, and then indeed will you smile and sit back and say, indeed, I am magnificent.